to the cloud. There we go. Okay, so do all of us have the book by Carolyn Mind, the Releasing Emotional Patterns book? Okay, so I'm using the 2017 book. They do have a 2018, so there's a chance the page numbers might not match up exactly if you don't have that one, but that's okay. We'll just go through. So today we're going to learn how to not only identify our emotions, but also determine our dominant body traits, and that's going to be whether you're physical, emotional, and spiritual or mental. So you'll be one of the first category and one of the second category. And then we're also going to work on ways to kind of clear out emotional patterns once we have determined those things. Okay. So does anyone ever have negative emotions? I know that's, I don't ever, no, not even this week. But basically what happens if we ignore, if we repress or stuff our emotions down, it basically can start to manifest as physical pain or emotional pain. Hey Shayna, how are you? So emotions are stored in the cells of our body. So that means that these things that we're feeling deep in our soul can sometimes even start to manifest down to the cellular level in our body. And all emotions either have a positive or a negative polarity. So that means things are going to emanate out of positivity or out of negativity. And we basically need to be able to access both of the polarities of our emotions to be alive. That's life. You're either going to have positive thoughts or negative thoughts. That's being a living being. So to effectively clear emotional patterns, it means we have to access all 4 points of our body: mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. So spiritual, that we're going to increase our awareness. That might be through meditation and prayer. Emotional, it's going to identify and actually feel the feelings. So if you stuff those feelings down and you never let them out, then that's how we can start to get into a state of unbalance. So letting yourself actually feel things versus trying to be numb, trying to just exist. Mental is recognizing and understanding lessons and patterns. So was there something that I should have learned here? Things like that. And then the physical, to clear out the cellular memory stored in the body. So there's a lot of things about that you may not even be aware that you had something that you were holding on to. You may not be aware that there was something that affected you, but then all of a sudden that can manifest in your body through a different route because your body's trying to let you know there's something you haven't dealt with here. We need to deal with this. So that's what that means. Okay. So what does that have to do with essential oils? That's just your feelings, right? No. The scents and emotions are both processed through the limbic system in your brain. So basically what that means is the olfactory bulb, which is where your scents are processed, and the amygdala, which is where your emotions are processed, both live in the limbic system in your brain. So basically what that means is when we inhale these essential oils and you smell that smell, that's why we have things like scent memory. So let's say you smell apple pie baking and then automatically you are just transferred back to your grandmother's kitchen where you have these great memories of baking with your grandmother. That's why scents can be tied to memories. And that's why we can use these essential oils and the smell of them to start to unlock some of these emotions, which means once they're unlocked and they're accessible, we can start to get them out. So using this knowledge, we know that we can actually obtain a specific result in our brains, in this case, releasing those stored emotions. So not only are we going to get to them, we're going to try to get them out. Okay, so what are sesquiterpenes? It is more than just a really big, hard to pronounce word. They are very small molecules that they can also cross the blood-brain barrier. So one thing I like to educate in my Essential Oil 101 class, most people don't know how small essential oil molecules are. So in order to cross the blood-brain barrier, any item has to have an atomic mass number of 800 or less. Now, all essential oils have an atomic mass number of 500 or less. So they're very, very small. That means not only can they cross the blood-brain barrier, but that means once they've gone through that limbic system in your brain and they've crossed that blood-brain barrier, they can be accessible to every cell in your body within 20 minutes after they've been inhaled. So that's really exciting because we have more than 1 trillion cells in our body. So the fact that we can take these oils in and they can go into every cell to actually help to change our bodies, that's really exciting to me. Now they also, sesquiterpenes individually can actually increase oxygenation of the pituitary and the pineal glands. So if we're trying to wake things up and we're trying to actually affect some change, that increased oxygenation is important. They also will stimulate the liver and the glands in your body. And a lot of these glands are where a lot of our hormones are produced, and a lot of our, the basic, on the very, very tiny level within our body, that's what's putting out, this is how much you need of this is how much you need of that. So that's why it's important when we're using some of these oils that we know what we're doing and we know how it's affecting us. So these are going to help create open pathways to help unlock and also release our cellular memory. Frankincense, sandalwood, cedarwood, and myrrh are all very high in sesquiterpenes. So those are some oils that if you're trying to, you know, kind of maybe create an environment for releasing emotional patterns, maybe start with one of those to kind of open all of those pathways, and then use a specific oil to target a certain emotion. All right, so the emotional energy that gets generated during trauma enters the body, and then if it's not released, it gets stored with a corresponding organ or gland with the same vibrational frequency. Oh, hold on. I forgot to mute all of you, so hold that thought. Oops. Oh. That one. Okay. Now if people need to talk or whatever, that will work just fine. And okay. There we go. All right, so the same vibrational frequency means your liver has a vibrational frequency. So does an essential oil. So purification, I know that one corresponds with the feeling of anger, which can be stored in the liver. So basically that means that the liver is going to resonate at a certain frequency, and at the same time, so is that essential oil of purification. So they match up, and that helps us to unlock that particular stored emotion. Now, a lot of people think that, you know, saying that things resonate at a vibrational frequency is a bunch of mumbo jumbo and things like that. One thing you have to take into account and think about when, you know, I'm a Christian and I believe that God created this world. So when God spoke and he created through his, you know, the vibration of his voice went out and he created the land, he created the water, he created all of these plants and different things out of his vibration of his voice. And so that still exists today, where all of these things are still vibrating at a certain frequency. And so we, even as humans, have that same vibrational frequency within us. And that's really fascinating as well, that then we can use these extracts from these plants to help maintain our own health and wellness. So each organ in our body has a vibrational frequency, and then so do our emotions. So they all interlock together through that vibrational frequency. The emotions are going to settle into an area with a corresponding frequency. So the way I would make you think of that is think about tuning to a radio channel. They all have to be lined up on that same frequency, right? So if your emotions are resonating at that same point as an organ, they're going to say, oh, well, they didn't get rid of me, so I'm going to go live here because that's my little slot. That's my groove that I fit in. And so that over time, let's say that we are somebody who, when we get stressed out or we are dealt a bad hand in life and we don't ever face those emotions or deal with them, then that is something that can eventually start to settle in that one organ. And over time that can start to manifest as physical pain because that organ is just all out of whack with its vibrational frequency. So a state of dis-ease, it's generally translated as a lack of ease. We're just not easy anymore because everything's all out of whack. This generally occurs when the body's vibrational frequency drops below a certain point. On average, it's 50 to 75. And when Young Living, you'll hear the term as you're on this little journey called the wellness line. The wellness line means that it's a normal, healthy, functioning adult that this is the wellness line. We want you there or higher, where you're operating at your best self and what you can maintain. So essential oils that are 100% pure and of a therapeutic level can actually raise our body's frequency. So when we're talking about that, we're saying that these oils that are vibrating at a certain frequency, they have the ability to transfer that energy to us when they are applied, inhaled, or ingested. And I always have this little caveat, you can buy essential oils anywhere. You can pick them up at the grocery store as well. However, if you're going to ingest essential oils, or even for me, use them on my body, because you have to remember these are pounds and pounds and pounds of plant material that are then steam distilled to extract this oil, that, basically if you're going to go and take pounds and pounds and pounds of plant material that were sprayed with chemicals, planted in ground filled with chemicals and things like that, you need to be careful with that, because you're going to be introducing a lot of foreign and chemical agents to your body. And the whole point here is we're trying to make our body better, not worse. So that's why I use Young Living oils, because I trust their quality. And I know that because of that seed to seal guarantee, that they're never going to give me something that I shouldn't put in, on, or around my body. And so that's why I just give that little caveat. If you're going to put something, on you, in you, or around you that you're trying to use therapeutically to evoke change in your emotions, you want to make sure that you're using something that you trust the quality on. So love versus fear. Love is positive energy. Fear is negative energy. How you process your emotions can be influenced by the home or environment you grew up in as a child. If you were in a home that had constant yelling and stress, you might be somebody who doesn't really know how to process your own feelings other than just get them out yelling and things like that. If you're somebody that it was two people who learned how to deal with one another respectfully, and I'm feeling this way right now, I feel like this, I feel like that, you might be better at processing your emotions. No matter how you grew up, that doesn't mean that you can't find a way to find a healthy resolution for your emotions. And we're going to help with that in this class. It's just saying that might be, your starting place might be different than someone else's starting place. So the body is going to hold on to these emotional patterns, whether we know it's happening or not. A lot of people who they just think they're ambling along and they may not have a feeling of peace or a feeling of happiness, or they just feel off. They don't necessarily know I'm feeling anxious. They don't necessarily know I'm feeling angry. They just don't feel right. So there's actually a few charts and patterns in this book that helps you to target where your specific body may store emotions, and then to be able to start diving deeper into how do we unlock and get those out. So that's part of that as well. So this is finding your way out. As you become more aware of what's going on within you, you're going to be able to recognize and identify your emotional patterns, and then you can start choosing a different path. So a lot of this is not just, oh, I smell a bottle of oil and now I feel all better. It's going to be retraining your brain to actually choose a different path than a habit that you have grown accustomed to. So you think about, in the Bible, it says whatever is good, whatever is pure, whatever is holy, if anything is true or noble, think on these things. There's a reason why God says these things to us. It's not just, hey, then you're going to have a good attitude. When we have thought patterns, we have actually created neuro pathways in our brain where now it becomes habit to respond this way. So if you think of, you have somebody in your life who's always negative and always griping and, the glass is half empty, nothing's ever good in their life or anything like that, then you have to remember that they have trained their brain to work that way. So the good news is we can target things and then actually retrain our brain. And by retraining our brain, I mean we are creating new neural pathways in our brain so that the new habit is to choose joy, to choose life, to choose truth, to choose things that are positive. And then that's that love versus fear. Are we going to react out of fear, or are we going to react out of the love of God that we know passes all understanding, and that peace and that joy that he gives within us? So that's something that I love to tie this back biblically, because that was what God created. When he created Adam and Eve in the garden, he wanted that level of intimacy with us. And so you can't really have all of this without him, because he's the source of all things. So we need to start to shift our perspective from an automatic response and then choose to move towards that positive energy. My direction is clear. I also have created, well, I didn't create a worksheet, I actually copied a worksheet that I got at a conference, but I have that as a document that I can send to all of you after the fact. And I'm gonna, if it will let me, try to post it on my Facebook page as well at Freedom in a Bottle, so that if anyone wants to start going through the book, we are using the Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils by Carolyn Mine. And it's got all of those charts in it as well that will help you to target specific emotions and release them using all these graphs and charts that we're going to go into later. So now as we start to release these emotional patterns through a combination of essential oils, meditation, and positive focus affirmations, as we do all of these things, that's going to be what creates these neural pathways, because we're using those oils that vibrate at that certain frequency. Then we're going to capture our thoughts and meditate them in a certain direction. And then the words of our mouth are going to be positive focus affirmations that through the combination of those three things are going to create those new neural pathways. And this can actually generate a new thought process for you. So that's to me really, really cool. Okay. 3 ways to identify your emotions. So I'm using the 2017 edition of this book, but on page 35, it starts the emotion and feelings chart. So I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling afraid. Whatever that negative emotion is that you're feeling, you can try to, and remember, anxious and afraid are very similar. So you might see certain things and you might think, maybe I'm feeling this. And it turns out that because of your physical body type, it was actually a similar emotion and it was stored in a different place. So that's why some of these things are important, that you can actually go through and figure out and target what you're actually feeling. The oil reference chart, this is really great, especially for new members who want to really get into their starter kit, because you'll find lavender does something, lemon does something, peppermint does something. So all of these oils that actually came in your starter kit, this is a great way to start just looking through, seeing what that oil does. So for instance, peppermint, it can help with emotions that make you feel like a failure, a fear of depending on somebody, or a fear of restriction. And so to sit there and think, well, this thing that I love to help wake me up in the morning and freshen my breath and, use as a cooling spray on my body when I go out in the heat is also something that can help unlock emotions within me. So that's really cool to me. And then there's also a body reference chart. So this is going to say like, oh man, I feel this feeling in my stomach and I don't like it. You can go look up what happens in your stomach and it will correspond to an emotion, and that will correspond as well to an oil. So all 3 of these charts work synergistically with one another. Okay, so we're going to determine our body traits. And like I said before, we each have 2 dominant traits. You're either mental or emotional, and then you're also spiritual or physical. So somebody might be mental and physical, and someone else might be emotional, spiritual. I personally am emotional, spiritual. So when you figure out what your key traits are and you go to page 19, I think it says, that will help to determine which, body type you are. So on page 19, I'm going to look it up real quick for those of you who don't have the book. But on page 19, if you're a mental driven person, that means that a lot of these words that I'm about to say are going to resonate with you. Think, rely on your mind, logic, focused, to the point, linear, peace, ambition, passion, drive. My initial response is to think first and feel later. At home, I respond best to reasonable requests. I tend to approach my feelings and those of others from a detached, analytical point of view. I prefer conversations to be logical, orderly, and non-emotional. My dominant sense is mental. If you're an emotional person, your dominant traits might correspond with feel, rely on feelings, a gut feeling, let it be, expansive, random, warm fuzzies, commitment, belief, action. My initial response in situations is to feel first and then think about it. At home, I respond best to direct requests. I tend to become immersed in feelings, both mine and others. I prefer conversations that deal emotionally with issues. My dominant sense is emotional. So out of those two, pick which one sounds closest to you, and then you'll know whether you're mental or emotional. Now on the next page, on page 20, we have physical and spiritual. So if you are someone with physical traits, these words would be more attractive to you. Sturdy, ground, solid, earth, literal, scientific, anchored, visible, environment, grounded, tangible, manifestation, sensory, precise, factual. I prefer life to be orderly and straightforward. I prefer to hear a new idea several times before I try it. I go from the details to the big picture. I am a body with a spirit. If you are a spiritual person, these words are going to be more attractive. Fragile, air, delicate, sky, ethereal, magical, floating, unseen, universe, flexible, invisible, idea, sensitive, conceptual, intuitive. I prefer life to occur with a natural ebb and flow. I enjoy trying new ideas or concepts immediately. I go from the big picture to the details. I am a spirit with a body. So between those different things, you will pick your two dominant traits. Now for dominant traits, if you are physical mental, then your emotions may manifest in one of these areas or multiple areas. The adrenals, the lymph system, the medulla, the nervous system, the spleen, the stomach, or the thymus. If you're spiritual mental, then you may have your balance disturbed, your brain, your eyes, your hypothalamus, your pineal gland, your pituitary gland, your thalamus, and your thyroid could be at having the issues. If you're spiritual emotional, your heart and your intestines are most affected. And if you are physical emotional, then it can show up in your blood, your gallbladder, your gonadals, your kidneys, liver, lung, pancreas, and skin. So that can be something that you can also use to help trigger which type you are. Let's say that your skin is always rebelling in some form or fashion. Well, then you might go back and see if the physical emotional chart really seems to resonate with you. If that's the case, then that helps you to target, well, this is where my issue is. So, let's see. Once we've determined our core emotional issues, then we can start to guide ourselves towards our core emotional issues, and then once we've targeted them, to resolve them. So if you're emotional spiritual, then your issues are probably in your heart and your intestines. So if you start feeling like, okay, I think it's my heart, let's go with that, then we can start working through those charts to trigger that emotional release. So the key is to use this information to guide you so that you can restore proper balance to the body. Just because something doesn't fall into your key emotional traits or your dominant body traits doesn't mean you can't have an issue in another area. It just means for those buried things that you haven't wanted to deal with, or you've, stuffed down, this can help to see, based on your body type, where you should start looking first. So changing a habit or a pattern is like sanding away a deep gouge in a board. The deeper the cut, the longer you have to work to repair the damage. So think about if you're sanding on that board and you just got a little surface cut in the board, well, then you do a little light sanding and you've restored that board to what it should be. But if you have something that's deeply, deeply buried, you're going to have to work and work and work. So that means that if you have some key emotional issues from maybe deep past trauma, or something that had happened to you over and over and over again, you're not going to smell a bottle of oil and say, I've released this, and it's all gone right away. It's something that you will probably have to work at on a continual basis until that new neuro pathway and that new way of relating has been created and those emotions are released and your body is restored to balance. So some of the most common emotions that people deal with are fear and anger, anxiety over the future, things like that, or anger at things that were done to you possibly in the past, or things that you're dealing with in your current life situation. Those tend to be the first things that pop out. So this was just something that can give you a little bit of a nudge to kind of, hey, why don't you try this? If you feel like you're dealing with rage, you could try Trauma Life or Gathering. If you're dealing with just a generalized fear, myrrh and Rutavala. I always say that wrong. But anyway, those can both be helpful to you. If you're somebody who, you feel paralyzed with terror, try helichrysum or sacred sandalwood, things like that. So this just gives you a little bit of a guide just off of the top. Then also, I highly recommend, if you don't have this book, that you get it, because it really helps you to target, like, what am I feeling? Because right here, I'll just give you an example. I'm looking at page 44, but I have grudge, see resentment, hate or hatred, hostility. I'm just trying to say things that are all like impatience or injustice. So all of those can kind of have the same core things. They all originate out of a feeling of anger, but then you can start to target very specifically, like if injustice really bothers me and not generalized rage, well then I know I need to go and target that specific emotion. So that's helpful to know too. So now Young Living also created a feelings kit. It's if you're on Essential Rewards, that's probably the best way to get it, because you will get points as well. And because it is $181, then you're only typically $9 away on an Essential Rewards order from getting 3 free products in addition to this feelings kit. Then I went out yesterday and I added up the price for each of the oils that came in the kit. And it actually saves you $80 to buy the kit than buying all of these oils individually. And so to me, it was, okay, so I get points, I get free products, and I just saved $80 over buying them individually. And actually, for any of you who are on Essential Rewards, as you start adding up points, you can start to cash those in. So that's actually what I'm saving my points up for, is to get this feelings kit absolutely 100% free. So in another, I think, month and a half or so, I'll be able to get the feelings kit for free. But anyway, so talking about Essential Rewards, I think everyone that's currently watching is on Essential Rewards, but I'm going to give a brief rundown because I am recording this as well. But Essential Rewards is a premium membership program with Young Living. So when you buy your starter kit, you get a membership into the company. So it's not like, some of the membership-based stores like, Sam's or Costco, where you buy your membership and then you can go shop in the store for savings. Young Living, when you purchase that starter kit, they give you your membership included. So now not only did you get all of that product, but you're also going to save 24% off of retail prices for every Young Living product. But with Essential Rewards, if you're willing to spend $50 per month, then you can start to get other products for free depending on how much you spend. And then you can also get points back that you can redeem for free products as well. Now, another thing you can see where it says earn free monthly products and loyalty awards at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. not only are you earning points back every month that so your first 3 months, if you spent $50, you get 5 points. On your 4th month, if you still just spent $50, you get 10 points back. So you can see how that could add up over time. But then after you've been on Essential Rewards for 3 months, when you place your month 4 order, you're gonna get peppermint for free. You didn't have to spend extra just to do it. They just give it to you because it's a thank you for staying with their premium membership program. At 6 months, you get Thieves. At 9 months, you get Tea Tree. And at 12 months, you get their loyalty blend, which in 2 months, I'm going to get to tell you how amazing that is because I've been on Essential Rewards. The next month's order will be my 11-month order, so I'm excited. Anyway, but yes, so it's really great if you know that you're going to be using a lot of products, if you know you're going to be wanting to target some specific emotions, if you want to use natural cleaning products and personal care products. It's very easy to do $50 a month. And you don't have to basically find money in your budget extra because Young Living has cleaning products, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, really anything that you could be buying at the grocery store. You're also able to then just switch from one budgeted category to another. And then that allows you to start getting all of these points and free items back, even though you're just buying stuff you were buying anyway. But on the flip side and the positive note, it's chemical free. So that's helpful as well. Okay, I always end with a quote. It is, I've learned that fear limits you and your vision. It serves as blinders to what may be just a few steps down the road for you. The journey is valuable, but believing in your talents, your abilities, and your self-worth can empower you to walk down an even brighter path, transforming fear into freedom. How great is that? So I'm gonna go ahead and end here, and let's close this out. And for those of you who are watching via recording after the fact, I'm going to stop the recording here. So bye-bye to you people. Okay.